Sherlock, the lying detective. Warning right now, not spoiler free. Spoilers will abound across this whole thing. Now, let me start by saying if you saw my review for The Six Thatchers, you know, I didn't like that episode. I actually got kind of ranty talking about that episode. So this one had a bit to pick up from to get me back on board. Did it do it? Yes, it did. This episode's good. It's very good. It's freaking great. This was a terrific episode, and I love just about everything that's going on here. I love John, and I love how real they are making his pain, and I love the interaction that he has with his hallucination of Mary, and that's the sort of thing that can go off the rails, but I liked it because I always liked their dynamic together. I thought they had great chemistry together, and it's nice getting that dynamic back, but it never felt like cheating. It didn't feel like bringing Mary back because she's always constantly reminding him, I'm just in your head, I'm still you. So I liked that whole thing, and it felt like a really nice sort of just farewell note to truly put the character to bed. So I like that. I really like where Sherlock went and how far down the rabbit hole of addiction he went in this, because, you know, it's been in there since the beginning that Sherlock tends to have addiction issues, especially if he's not in the middle of a case. And we've even seen him like get found in like a drug den or whatever, but he's always bounced back very quickly. We've never truly seen how south things can go for him. Now we're seeing it, and it's really fascinating. I found it so interesting that even when he's completely drugged out, it can numb kind of his conscious mind, but his subconscious keeps making deductions even if he doesn't want it to. And I like the whole idea that he has to like play catch up to his own brain, and this whole idea that it's like he's still making deductions and he's still saying and doing things based off those deductions, but he doesn't understand why, because his more conscious thinking mind just is stumbling through the steps that subconsciously he's already blown through. That's a really interesting realization of him being really drugged out. It works very, very well. Toby Jones. Toby Jones as Culverton Smith. I was looking forward to him because I love Toby Jones. I really love him in Villain Mode. I mean, I love him as the Dream Master in Doctor Who. So based off that, I was really looking forward to this. Oh man, he is just, everything about him is just unnerving. Just this way of talking that's, it's not quite a speech impediment, but there's something just off. And the teeth they gave him, he's got this one tooth that's just kind of this sideways thing, and it's not awful, but it's just slightly off. Like everything about him just makes you uncomfortable in this sort of something's not right way, and just that feeling permeates the character and the performance, and it works so well. And it's interesting when I think about it, because this is the kind of guy, he's not really outthinking or outsmarting, or even, well, he's trying to outsmart Sherlock, but he's not really quite pulling that off. And if Sherlock was truly on his game and wasn't, you know, completely whacked out on drugs, this guy would probably not stand a chance. And normally a villain that only works because the hero is handicapped is a problem for me. In this case, it's not, because the show isn't trying to play that game really, because they make up for the fact that he's probably not Sherlock's intellectual equal the way certainly Moriarty was, or Irene Adler was, or Ian Magnuson was. Culverton Smith's not at that level, but he is so skeevy. I mean, Sherlock calls him a monster, and that is the perfect word. That makes up for the fact that normally he probably wouldn't be that much of a challenge for Sherlock, and so that is balanced really well. I think I need to single out, though, for me, the real MVP of this episode, Mrs. Hudson. Oh, I mean, I've always liked Mrs. Hudson, but the highlight she gets in this episode, how much fun she gets to have. She's got Sherlock in the trunk. Just the fact that she even has that car, she has to keep reminding John, I'm not your housekeeper. I was married to a drug lord. I own property. This is my stuff. I have a life. I love all of that, and I like that Sherlock was... They really found a really good balance with how sort of hampered he was by the drugs, because he comes up with a solution that is not Sherlock's most clever solution in terms of just finding a way to record the guy confess. It's kind of a basic solution, you know, basic for him, but it's still good enough, and he's just clever enough. And I like that sort of smiley, something about the number 3. People stop looking once they've gotten to 3. This episode was so good. Now, I considered banging out this review immediately after watching it, and ultimately I didn't do that. I decided to sleep on it and think about it a little bit more. Not to sort of solidify my feeling about the episode itself. I knew I loved it. I loved it immediately. But I needed to figure out if this alters my opinion of the 6 Thatchers at all. Because, honestly, without the 6 Thatchers, we don't get this. If Mary doesn't die, then we don't have this tear between Watson and Holmes, and I like how that played out. We don't see John in this much pain, and I like how that played out. We don't see, Sherlock laid low and in the face of addiction again, harder than we've ever seen, and I liked how that played out. So now realizing that, do I like the 6 Thatchers any better? No. Not really. Because here's the thing. I think people thought I was upset because they killed Mary. People were telling me, she was killed in the books. It's part of the canon. They weren't married that long. It wasn't the fact that she died that annoyed me. What annoyed me about that episode was that they undermined John and Mary's relationship immediately before killing her, which I didn't think was necessary in the first place. And I really didn't like it because the way they did it was basically a complete retread of the way they had brought the relationship into question in the episode where they got married. So that was the thing. So while I will grant it was necessary for Mary to die, nothing about what was great about this episode and what was necessary from the previous episode required the undermining of John and Mary's relationship. We didn't need her to run off again. Nothing about that contributed to this episode. The only part of undermining their relationship that did contribute was that one woman on the bus. Which some of you are probably wondering, is he going to talk about that? And I'm kind of not, because I've got enough thoughts about that I actually want to do a separate video talking about just that, because it's going to go into some amount of speculation about what's coming next. But I will say this. What I'll say is I like the reveal. I like how it's done. I think that they did a wonderful job taking an actress in with nothing but very basic hair and makeup changes and just a voice change. Did a wonderful job of concealing her, because I didn't see that coming. I mean, I called that there was something up with the daughter almost immediately. I certainly didn't call what happened though. But the more I think about what they actually revealed, the more I'm really worried about it. Within the confines of this episode, like it, love it, excellent. But I really am worried about how they're going to pull it off in the next episode. And I'm going to talk about that in a separate video. So that's going to wrap it up for me. So The Lying Detective, have you seen it? I hope so, because otherwise I've spoiled a crap ton of stuff for you. Actually, maybe not that much. I didn't go into plot specifics as much as I would think. In any case, if you've seen it, what'd you think about it? Whatever you thought, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Wouldn't mind if you hit that bell down there so you get notifications when I put new stuff up. Follow me on Twitter at Council of Geeks. Check out the Council of Geeks podcast, available on iTunes and Stitcher. And until next time, this council is adjourned.